Hey guys, before we begin, I wanted to show you a quick snippet from one of my new videos that I put out.
It's time we come together as a community and create fresh, new, engaging stories that we all love. Ones where we can actually work together as the fans to create these stories together. Not just one person writing a what if scenario for one of their favorite franchises, but all of us collaborating together to create new stories. So here is my idea for how this could work. I'm going to give us a potential start to a story to kick things off that you can then continue. You would continue it by commenting on the video what you think should happen next in the story. I would suggest you title it something like Part 1, because then people can read your comment and then reply to your comment with what they think should happen next after what your continuation of the story was. And they would title their reply with Part 2. Just to help people be able to keep track of the chronological order of that comment, change, story, continuation thing. I'm working on a catchy name. Now listen, if you don't want to use my initial story kickoff, you could comment on the video with your own totally unique start to a story. And if people like it, they can reply to your comment to build off of your story. So what happens next is I would make a few different kinds of videos showcasing your comments in the video. The first kind of video would be me choosing one of these comment change story continuation thingies and then showing the screenshots of those comments, reading them off, and then I would add my continuation of what I think should happen next. The second type of video I could theoretically make is just showcasing several of these different comment change story continuation thingies without actually adding my own continuation. This could even potentially be done as a stream. We'll see how things go. You could even make.
So the reason I am mentioning this video here is that, as you can see, at the time of making this video, that video is sitting at a whopping 94 views. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy for any views I get, but it only got like 5 likes, and some people did comment on it, and that made me super happy. But I was just surprised because, considering my other videos receive thousands of views, it makes me think that perhaps the algorithm didn't push out this video to you guys because it ain't Star Wars, or maybe you guys mostly just want to watch me for Star Wars content, which, if that is the case, that's fine. But I would like to ask you a favor. To watch that video, please check it out, because I think the idea for this video is seriously so cool, and it could be a really genuinely enjoyable experience for you guys to be a part of. So with that being said, let's hop into the main event. Anakin leaned against a wall, adorned with the armor of Darth Vader. Although he had no idea that this was the suit of Darth Vader, nor did he have any idea who Darth Vader was, despite everyone calling him Lord Vader. He could only speculate as to what any of this meant. One possibility he could think of was that perhaps he was captured by some powerful cult that had brainwashed him into becoming their soldier, giving him the moniker Lord Vader, and somehow he had just recently broken free of their brainwashing. Whether or not this was the case, Anakin felt certain he was in great danger. Everything about the circumstances he found himself in was a nightmare, but not one he could wake up from. He needed to escape wherever he was and find the Jedi, find Obi-Wan. Anakin tried to calm himself down, seeking to feel peace through the assistance of the Force. The man on the intercom said that Grand Moff Tarkin wanted to speak with him. Anakin had no idea who Tarkin was, as Anakin would not meet Tarkin until after the Clone Wars began, and as for this version of Anakin, the Clone Wars had not yet begun. Anakin thought to himself that he had to avoid talking to this Grand Moff Tarkin at all costs, because whoever these people were, they would very quickly realize that Anakin was not the same as the Lord Vader that they knew. For Anakin had no idea what kind of a person this Lord Vader was, nor did he have any of the knowledge of Lord Vader. And he might be able to deceive some people for a short time, but the more time he spent interacting with these people, the more inevitable it was that he would be found out. This felt especially true for this Grand Moff Tarkin, who sounded very official from his title. He looked at his surroundings. Whatever his next move would be, he would need to try his best to act how Lord Vader would act, so as to avoid suspicion, until he could make his escape. He thought of the tone of the man who spoke to him through the intercom, the reaction of the droid after he backhanded it in pain, and the very title of Lord itself. From these pieces of information, Anakin thought that whoever this Lord Vader person was, he was probably a figure that demanded respect, and may very well be imposing or even threatening. So, Anakin would do his best to avoid being seen and interacting with anyone, and if he was, he needed to act natural, talk as little as possible, and try to act how he thought that Lord Vader would act. Meanwhile, the real Lord Vader was enjoying the young and uninjured body of the Padawan Anakin, as well as the company of Senator Padme Amidala. This time, he had more time to bond with her, even if she pretended that she did not feel the same way he did as of yet, because of the fact that he did not have to worry about his mother this time, for she was safe on Coruscant. In a few days, Vader knew that Obi-Wan would contact him with information about the plans he would unearth about the schemes of Dooku and the Separatists. Although Vader felt a great sense of security knowing his mother was safe, and knowing what would happen in the future, and from having a plan in place for the future to keep his mother and Padme safe, he felt it very difficult to relax during this time. For this reason, for the past several days, in the middle of the night, Vader would sneak out of his luxurious chambers on Naboo and find an isolated place to train. Vader's heart throbbed with anxiety as he stood in the forests of Naboo, as the intense fear of loss he experienced before of losing the ones he loves was further intensified by the post-traumatic stress of his memories of having already lost them once before, and his anxious desires to prevent that from happening a second time caused him to feel himself overflowing with anxiety, fear, and rage. The image of Darth Sidious haunted him in the back of his mind constantly, looming over him. The monster that he made a pact with, a pact he made to guarantee he would have the power needed to save Padme. That monster pretended to care about Vader, but all he cared about was power. And when Vader had lost Padme, because he could not control his overflowing rage that he had just recently embraced, Sidious felt not one shred of remorse nor mourning, but delight. That it would be one more source of dark emotion that would fuel Vader's power in the dark side. Had Sidious truly cared about Vader, he would have taken more time to train him in the dark side before sending him off as his servant of slaughter, totally unprepared for how to effectively wield the power of the dark side of the Force without being utterly consumed with it. Vader was convinced that had he been able to control his newfound powers in the dark side, he not only would have been able to stop himself from lashing out at Padme, but he would have easily been able to destroy Obi-Wan, for in Vader's mind, the only reason Obi-Wan had won was because he exploited Vader's out-of-control emotions and arrogance. All of this because his so-called master, the self-proclaimed emperor of the galaxy, did not bother to train him how to control and hone his infinitely overflowing well of dark power in the Force at the time when it mattered most. He remembered back to when he feigned weakness against Mace Windu, only to then declare and demonstrate his unlimited power, his unlimited deceit, unleashing a torrent of that surging Sith lightning to devastate Mace Windu. That same unlimited deceit was again put on display when Vader had learned the hard way that Sidious had purposefully designed his suit to be weak to lightning as a built-in insurance policy that was permanently attached to Vader everywhere he went, were he ever to feel tempted to act out on his desires to snuff the life out of Sidious. That terrifying lightning that he could never himself use due to having lost his limbs, almost a symbol of his failure in being able to accomplish the things that he wanted to accomplish by embracing the dark side in the first place. This did not stop Vader from learning all that he could about the ability to conjure lightning over the years, as well as everything he could about his master of unlimited deceit, Darth Sidious. Now, Vader was not missing his limbs. Now, Vader had learned the hard way how to control his dark emotions and therefore his power in the dark side. He allowed himself to fall into the endless black abyss of his fear of once more losing his mother, of once more losing Padme, and he felt the endless anguish and sting it caused him, and he channeled all of that fear into rage, pure unbridled rage, and then allowed that rage to bring to the surface the endless ocean of the caustic venom that was his hatred. And in this moment, he chose to not let the endless wellspring of darkness he felt seeping out from him simply overflow indiscriminately, but he chose to channel it and focus it onto one singular target, one man, one monster, one coward. The visual of Darth Sidious unleashing a torrent of Sith lightning flashed in Vader's mind, but it felt so real that it felt as if he was standing there in that forest with him, aiming that lightning at him, and in that moment, he lashed out in the ultimate wrathful hatred towards Darth Sidious, and Darth Vader unleashed a massive sprawling web of Sith lightning, illuminating the dark forest he was in and piercing every tree and plant in the nearby vicinity. Finally, after several days of sneaking out to train in the dead of night, Vader managed to conjure Sith lightning for the very first time. Vader's eyes were a deep yellow, stained with the power of the dark side that he felt overflowing out of him, and at first he felt it difficult to control and contain this power. But as he fixed his focus on Darth Sidious, and as he remembered all the skills and control he had gained from decades of training to control the dark side, he molded and morphed this web of lightning into a controlled and focused torrent, like the kind he had seen his master use, and he aimed it at one single tree, causing it to flow and surge with electricity until it burst into flame. Vader fell to his knees, gasping out a sigh, similar to that sickening sigh that Sidious had given after murdering Mace Windu with his power. Was it a sigh of relief? Perhaps it was, for he was sure that Sidious at that time did feel relieved, as he must have felt a certainty, as he was unleashing that lightning, that things would happen exactly how he wanted them to happen. Perhaps Vader sighed for that same reason, feeling certain this time things would unroll according to the plans of the Sith Lord Darth Vader, not Darth Sidious. He reveled in this feeling. This time, he felt unlimited power was in his control, and would bow to his will, as he used the Force to cause some water from a nearby pond to extinguish the flame of the tree from spreading, almost symbolizing the ability Vader now had to extinguish the flames of the dark side from spreading out of his control. Switching back to Anakin inhabiting the body of Darth Vader, adorned with his suit, Anakin strolled through the halls of the Star Destroyer, although he, of course, had no idea that that is what he was inside of. He did his best to look confident and imposing, despite how strange and awkward he felt, as he tried to get used to the feeling of walking with artificial legs and arms, and the pain from the neural needles in his head, and the general confusion and dread he felt from his circumstances. Despite all this, he trusted in the Force as his ally. He was the chosen one after all, he told himself, to try to give him some sort of sense of confidence and reassurance. Anakin also tried to avoid being seen by anyone, despite passing by several soldiers in strange white armor that slightly resembled his black armor, brandishing blasters, who seemed to do their best to avoid eye contact with him and give him a respectfully presented wide berth as he walked past them. It would not take long before he realized, from the hallways of this ship, that this was indeed a ship and not some advanced planetary medical facility. This is actually good news, he told himself, for a ship would be easier to escape than a compound on a planet. All he needed to do was find an escape pod and set the coordinates for Coruscant, or maybe some nearby planet, just in case they would detect the escape pod leaving and follow him straight to Coruscant. Or perhaps going straight to Coruscant would be his best shot. Or maybe... Anakin's head throbbed as he tried to contemplate the logistics of this brash plan he was formulating, from the fear he felt and the pain he felt, both physical and mental. Right now, he just needed to figure out where the escape pods were. He decided he would need to make a gamble, because it would be too much of a risk of being seen by too many people were he to simply try to find it by searching the entirety of this ship, and who knew how massive this ship could be. He went to one of the soldiers he had walked past and commanded him to follow him, trying to sound as threatening as he could. And he was actually surprised at how threatening he sounded, for that deep robotic voice from his suit almost seemed designed to sound threatening. To his relief, the soldier in the white armor responded with an obedient and fearful, "Yes, Lord Vader." Once Anakin had the soldier alone, he told him to go to the escape pods because he was suspicious that there may be a spy hiding in that area, and he wants him to go alone to see if he could draw the spy out. Then he, Lord Vader, would quickly arrive at the scene to dispatch of the spy. He assured the soldier he would be following him from a long distance. The soldier, being a stormtrooper, although Anakin had no idea that's what he was called, agreed obediently, although his tone had a hint of hesitation and confusion. Understandable, because Anakin knew how insane this story sounded. But he was gambling on the seeming respect and fear these people, who he grew more and more to suspect were some kind of strange cultists, had for Lord Vader. Nevertheless, the stormtrooper made his way towards where the escape pods were located on the ship, and Anakin trailed him from behind a far distance, but not too far as to lose sight of the stormtrooper. Eventually, the stormtrooper came to some escape pods. He stood and investigated the area, while Anakin poked his head around the corner watching him. He contemplated knocking the soldier unconscious, but then he realized that may cause more suspicion than needed. He thought of another plan.
"Soldier, you have done well. You are dismissed. I will handle things from here. But you must listen to me. You are not permitted to tell anyone about this, nor are you to tell them that you had talked with me at all. If you do, there shall indeed be grave consequences."
Anakin felt very nervous delivering this command and threat, worrying he may be pushing his luck. But, to his relief, the soldier nodded and said, I understand, Lord Vader. I won't tell anyone," before he left the scene at a brisk pace. Anakin looked around nervously, before quickly getting into the escape pod. Now was the moment of decision. Should he go straight to Coruscant? Or is that too much of a risk? Anakin felt overwhelmed and panicked. He decided that he would go straight to Coruscant. He was certain that even if these cultists did follow him, the Republic and the Jedi could easily handle them. He set the coordinates to Coruscant and then ejected the escape pod, and he flew through space, certain that soon he would see the Jedi. He would see Master Yoda, Obi-Wan. He even felt excited to see Master Windu at this point, and then he would finally feel some relief in this nightmare. Sadly, we know that no Jedi are waiting to greet Anakin on Coruscant. Hey everyone, thank you for watching. I am sorry it has taken me so long. Things have just been so busy. You know how every YouTuber uses that phrase as a catch-all excuse for going silent for long periods of time. So I might as well use it too. Honestly, though, it has been busy for me. I would love it if I became such a big YouTuber that this could become my job. But until then, it's hard to promise a consistent uploading schedule. On that note, if you want me to put out content more consistently, then subscribe, like, comment, turn on all notifications so you can see when I put out new content, spread the word about my channel so I can grow, and maybe I could justify spending more time making content. I also promise you that things are going to start getting more and more exciting in this story soon. I have some really awesome, interesting, exciting stuff planned for this story, and they are going to start happening in the very next video, whenever that comes out. In the meantime, please check out the video I mentioned at the beginning. I think that will be such a fun and interesting collaborative storytelling process we can all be a part of. All right, bye.